The first time she saw him, he was sitting alone at the corner table, his hands trembling slightly as he tried to cut a croissant that kept slipping from his fork. The morning rush was loud, people talking over steaming cups and clattering plates, but somehow the old man's quiet struggle broke through everything. Mia froze mid-step. She didn't know why she felt pulled to him. Maybe it was the tired softness in his smile, maybe the loneliness resting in the wrinkles around his eyes. Or maybe it was the way he whispered a thank you that sounded as if he wasn't used to being helped. She didn't know then that this simple act of kindness would change her life forever, or that one day, a sharply dressed man would walk through the same cafe doors with 2 lawyers behind him and tear her world apart. If you believe kindness and second chances still matter in this world, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. It helps more than you know. From that day on, Mia made it a habit to check on the old man whenever he came in. His name was Mr. Hayes, and he visited the cafe every morning at exactly 8:15, as if held in place by decades of routine. He always wore a brown wool beret, always ordered 1 croissant and 1 cup of black coffee, and always sat at the same table where sunlight touched the edge of his plate. Mia learned that he used to be a history teacher, one who loved telling stories about ancient empires and forgotten heroes. Now, most of his days were quiet, and his memories sometimes tangled themselves into knots he struggled to untie. His hands shook, his mind slipped, but his heart, gentle, hopeful, grateful, was still very much alive. Mia wasn't sure when helping him stopped being part of her job and started becoming something she genuinely looked forward to. She would slice his pastry into small pieces so he wouldn't struggle. She would refill his cup before he asked. Sometimes she would sit beside him for a moment, just long enough for him to share a memory he didn't want to lose. Other times, she simply offered him the comforting silence he seemed to need. At first, customers would glance curiously at them, but soon even the regulars grew used to their quiet morning ritual. It became a small piece of beauty in the middle of the busy cafe, a reminder that kindness could still exist in simple, ordinary ways. But as weeks turned into months, Mia noticed something else. Mr. Hayes often seemed confused about money. He would hand her too much or too little, sometimes pulling out random bills as if he didn't remember their value. Some days he asked whether he had already paid when he hadn't. Other days he insisted he owed nothing at all. Mia always corrected him gently, sometimes paying the difference from her own pocket. The cafe owner warned her not to get too involved, reminding her that customers were customers, not responsibilities. But Mia couldn't explain it. There was a feeling inside her, a quiet certainty that Mr. Hayes needed someone, and that somehow, she had been placed in his path for a reason. One morning, he didn't come. The clock hit 8:15, then 8:30, then 9 o'clock. Mia kept glancing at the door, every time expecting to see his familiar silhouette. When her shift ended, she walked home with a heavy ache in her chest, fearing the worst. She barely slept that night, her mind replaying their last conversation. Had he seemed tired? Had he been trying to tell her something? She wished she could go back and pay more attention. The next morning, as the bell above the entrance chimed, Mia felt her heart leap, but it wasn't Mr. Hayes. It was a tall man in a suit, precise and polished, his expression serious. Behind him walked 2 lawyers carrying briefcases. The man scanned the room until his eyes locked onto her. He approached her table, his gaze sharp, almost guarded. Mia felt her stomach twist. He introduced himself as Daniel Hayes, Mr. Hayes' grandson. Before she could speak, he told her that his grandfather had fallen 2 days ago. He was alive, recovering, but confused, and had kept mentioning her name. In fact, he had mentioned her so much that Daniel became suspicious. He asked how long she had known his grandfather, what exactly she had been doing for him, and why he had been withdrawing unusual amounts of money from his bank account. Mia stood frozen. She didn't know about the withdrawals. She didn't know his family monitored his finances. All she knew was that every word Daniel said made her chest tighten, as if she were being accused of something she never even imagined. The lawyers took notes while Daniel spoke, their expressions unreadable. He asked her to explain every detail of her interactions with Mr. Hayes. Every cup of coffee, every moment spent at his table, every time she helped him with the bill. Mia felt humiliated. The cafe had grown silent, customers pretending not to watch while clearly listening. Her hands shook as she tried to explain that she had never taken anything from him, that she had only ever tried to help. Daniel didn't accuse her directly, but the doubt in his eyes cut deeper than any sharp word. For the next few days, Mr. Hayes didn't return, and neither did Daniel. The cafe felt emptier, colder. Mia kept replaying the moment in her mind, wondering if she had crossed some invisible line. Maybe she had cared too much. Maybe kindness had limits she didn't understand. Then one morning, unexpectedly, Mr. Hayes appeared at the door. Mia rushed to him, tears burning her eyes. But before she could say a word, Daniel stepped in behind him. He looked different this time, softer, uncertain, almost ashamed. He sat down across from her and said he had reviewed everything. The bank withdrawals had nothing to do with her. His grandfather, in his moments of confusion, had been trying to buy gifts for the staff, and simply forgot how money worked. Daniel apologized. Not with rehearsed words, but with honesty. He thanked her for taking care of the one person he loved more than anything. He said he had been so afraid of losing his grandfather that he had looked for threats in the wrong places. Before the ending, please comment below, would you help an elderly stranger if you saw them struggling? And as the days passed, Daniel became a regular visitor too, not with lawyers this time, but with gratitude. Mia realized something she had never expected: sometimes life tests kindness, not to break it, but to prove its worth. If this story touched your heart, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us continue creating meaningful stories for you.